What's up, cheeseheads? Welcome back, and as always, thank you for joining me. My name's Paul Brettel, the site editor over at Dairyland Express, where we cover the Packers, Brewers, Bucks, and Badgers. I also have a new article out every Monday and Friday over at Cheesehead TV, and as it says at the bottom of the screen here, you can follow me on Twitter at Paul_Brettel. So for today's episode, we're going to be discussing an article that I actually just posted a day ago on Tuesday over at Dairyland Express, discussing my 3 keys to victory for the Green Bay Packers. You can find a link to that article below. As we all know, there's a number of things, dozens of things that go into an NFL team winning their matchup. But these 3 items in particular, I feel that if Green Bay goes out, executes them well, it's really going to increase their chances and give them a really terrific opportunity to win this game. So something to keep our eyes on as the game unfolds. So let's dive on in. First up is tackling and gap integrity by the Green Bay Packers front 7. Now, I'm sure, and I don't mean to bring up any bad memories, but I'm sure we all remember how the game ended the last time these 2 teams met in the playoffs, with San Francisco rushing for roughly 1,200 yards that game, I think it was. And since then, this Green Bay Packers run defense, numbers wise, isn't a whole lot different. They've given up 4.7 yards per rush this season. That ranks 31st. They rank 28th by DVOA in run defense. And the San Francisco 49ers still rely heavily on the run game. Now, of course, what happened 2 years ago has absolutely zero bearing on Saturday's game. What happened in week 3 of this season when the Green Bay Packers won has absolutely no bearing on Saturday's game. It's a fresh start. It's a new game starting from scratch. But this, of course, is worth noting just because we all know, and it's why many fans are concerned about this matchup, and understandably so, because something that the Niners do really well, run the ball, is something that the Green Bay Packers defense does not do that well, which is stop the run. So in order to do so, there's no magic elixir, no magic formula that Joe Barry can roll out. A lot of it's just going to, as it often does, come down to fundamentals in gap integrity and fundamental tackling. Now, one big thing that has changed, or 2 big things, I should say, that have changed since last time these 2 teams met, is that the 49ers, they've seen the emergence of rookie running back Elijah Mitchell. He did not play week 3 against the Green Bay Packers. And in that game, Green Bay actually did a very good job against the run. They held the Niners to only 3.2 yards per rush. But since then, Elijah Mitchell, he's appeared in 11 games, totaled 963 rushing yards in just those 11 games, averaging 4.7 yards per rush. His 3.83 yards after contact average, so he's tough to bring down, is the 4th most among running backs this season. And his 41 missed tackles is 11th. And again, he tallied those 41 missed tackles by only playing in 11 games. And then Deebo Samuel, that's the other difference from week 3. Since week 10, Kyle Shanahan's been using him out of the backfield as a ball carrier. He's averaging 7 rushing attempts per game, including the wild card round during that span. He's averaging 6.3 yards per rush. He's an all-pro. We all know what Deebo can do and really just how elusive he is. So when it comes to tackling and gap integrity, again, those are going to be crucial. And in reality, if we're being realistic, Green Bay's not going to slow Mitchell or slow Deebo Samuel. They're both gonna find some success. They're just that good, as is the Niners run game in general. The hope is that this defense can contain them so that we don't see them dominate the game. We don't see San Francisco controlling the clock and just pounding it down this Green Bay Packers defense. That's what the hope is. So when it comes to tackling, we know that that's been an issue for this defense, Packers defense in past years. But as we've talked about on here before, they've actually been very, very sound in the tackling department this season. By PFF's grading system, the Green Bay Packers rank 2nd among all teams in tackling, and they have the fewest missed tackles recorded this season with 93. I believe the 2nd fewest missed tackles was 106. So they weren't just first, they were first by a wide margin in that category. And a big reason for that has been Devondre Campbell. He has 134 total tackles this season, and only 4 misses were credited to him by Pro Football Focus. So just terrific. And again, that's why he's an all-pro. One of the reasons why he's an all-pro. The other thing that the Green Bay Packers have to do, again, tackling, that's the obvious one, something they've done well this year. All 11 guys to the ball, but gap integrity, run fits from the defensive front. When we think about the Browns game in particular, we saw Green Bay really struggle with missed tackles. They had 9 that game, which was their second most in a game of the season. And the edge rushers, Preston Smith, Rashawn Gary, they both in particularly struggled to set the edge. And with that, if the edge rushers get too far upfield, it creates running lanes. If they crash in to the quarterback, if they're too aggressive, that allows the runner to then bounce outside. So Rashawn Gary, Preston Smith, Zadarius Smith, if he's back out there, they have to be very, very disciplined in that. And then the other thing is the linebackers, the interior defensive line, edge rushers as well, but have to make sure that they don't over pursue or fall for that eye candy. Kyle Shanahan's going to throw a lot of movement, a lot of trickery, just stuff to draw your attention pre-snap. And the Green Bay Packers have to be disciplined with what their run fits are, what their responsibilities are, because if you over pursue or don't react the right way, again, that's going to create running lanes. None of this is, groundbreaking, information by any means, but it's going to be so crucial that Green Bay is able to do these fundamentals and do them correctly. Tackle and gap responsibilities. Again, I'm going to go back to that Cleveland game. That's what happens when Green Bay struggles in both those areas. The Cleveland Browns ran for, I believe it was about 220 yards, and they averaged a ridiculous almost 9 yards per carry. So that, and in that game, the Green Bay Packers really struggled with those two key facets. So something to keep our eyes on. It's going to be uber important that they do those two things successfully. Next up, the middle of the field defense for the Green Bay Packers, the linebackers, the safeties. It's going to take everyone, but a lot of this is going to fall on the linebackers and the safeties and coverage. So Jimmy Garoppolo, as we talked about, this is a run-first San Francisco team. He's averaging 29.9 pass attempts per game. That's the fourth fewest in football. And of 39 eligible quarterbacks, he ranks 30th in average depth of target. So again, it's not like he's trying to push the ball downfield when he does have those pass attempts. However, again, Deebo Samuel and of course George Kittle, they have feasted over the middle of the field this season on those short intermediate routes, and the Green Bay Packers should be prepared for a lot of that. Deebo Samuel, of his 117 targets, and this is from Pro Football Focus, 80 of them have come between the numbers. He finished the year second in yards after the catch and first in yards after the catch average. George Kittle, much of the same. Of his 93 targets, 67 of them have come over the middle. He finished fourth among all tight ends in total receiving yards and second in yards after the catch total. So again, this is going to be a difficult task for this Green Bay Packers defense. Again, the good news is that they've been sound with tackling this year. And when it comes to these two players in particular, Kittle and Samuel, who are both very good at picking up yards after the catch, that's going to be very important to limiting what they're able to do. And then on top of that, we've seen tight ends, particularly Mark Andrews, have success against this Green Bay Packers defense. Now, I will add, Mark Andrews has success against everybody, but George Kittle often does as well. However, with that said, as a whole, Green Bay was okay against tight ends this season. They finished 14th in average receptions per game given up to tight ends and 22nd in average yards per catch allowed to tight ends. So for the most part, they were able to hold their own against tight ends this season. But we saw, again, going back to Mark Andrews in Baltimore, when faced with that top echelon of tight end, which of course George Kittle falls into, that issues can arise for this defense. So as I mentioned, it's going to fall on Devondre Campbell, Adrian Amos, Darnell Savage. They're going to be three of the key players in limiting what the San Francisco 49ers do over the middle. I wouldn't mind seeing Joe Barry devote some extra help on that part of the field, just to have some extra bodies, extra help in coverage, and really force Jimmy Garoppolo, if he's going to make throws, make them outside the hash marks, force him to beat you on the boundary, an area that he has struggled with. So lastly, our third and final key to victory for the Green Bay Packers: start fast on offense and control the clock. Now, it's obvious those are two good things. If those things happen, it's going to be good news for the Green Bay Packers offense. But as I wrote in a recent article, the defense, as we all know, has been trending downward. However, the biggest boost that they can receive is likely from the Green Bay Packers offense by doing these two things: starting fast and controlling the clock. 49ers, we've talked about it a ton already. They like to run the football, but you know how you can limit their ability to run the football? Go up on them by 2 scores, control the time of possession, take that ability to put those time consuming drives together and force their hand a little bit to put the ball in Jimmy G's hands and force him to be the one that has to make the plays. So if the Green Bay Packers offense can get out to these fast starts, they can control the clock. It's really going to help their defense as well. Now, ironically, the last time these two teams played, Green Bay actually got out to a 17-0 lead, which has not been the norm this season. As we know, as we discussed on here, they've had their issues in the first quarter with their first quarter offense. In fact, they finished 25th this season out of the 32 teams in average first quarter points scored per game. So getting out to that fast start, I don't know. If Green Bay does win the toss, my hope would be that they would take the ball and try to go score to give their defense that early lead. We saw what happened when San Francisco was playing Dallas. They just marched down the field. Kyle Shanahan, Jimmy Garoppolo, this offense is very, very good on that opening script. And if the San Francisco starts with the ball, there is a very real potential that they could go up 7-0 early on. And while there's still plenty of time to overcome that, and it doesn't mean the game's over by any means, it hurts that fast start strategy for this offense and what benefits it can provide for the defense. So my gut says if that happens, Green Bay's still going to defer. They're going to want to double dip. We know how much Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur love that. But for the sake of starting fast, I would like to see them start with the ball if that opportunity arose. The other aspect of this, controlling the clock. Green Bay actually has been very good in that category. They finished first this regular season in average time of possession per game, holding the ball for almost 33 minutes. In part, that's because as slow as they've started in the first quarter, they've been really, really good in quarters 2 and 3. So hopefully we see more of that on Saturday. When it comes to this Niners defense, overall, they've allowed 21.2 points per game this season. That ranks 8th. We know they have a strong pass rush, a stout run defense. So running the ball is going to be challenging at times, even with close to fully healthy Green Bay Packers offensive line. But I wouldn't be surprised to see the ball in the hands of Aaron Rodgers quite a bit in this game. If there's a part of this defense that can be exploited, it's the cornerbacks, especially with Davante Adams. So that's one area where Green Bay, and I guess that's not saying much. It's Aaron Rodgers, it's Davante Adams, but that's one area of this defense that they can really try to take advantage of. So those are my 3 keys to victory for the Green Bay Packers. As I mentioned, there are others, but these are the big aspects of it for them: tackling, gap integrity, starting fast and controlling the clock, and then their middle of the field defense. As I mentioned, this isn't an article version. You can check that out. It is linked below. Check out my work at Dairyland Express and Cheesehead TV. Follow me on Twitter at Paul_Brettel. Like the video, hit subscribe. I do greatly appreciate it. So until next time, friends, take care, stay safe, and as always, go Pack Go.